Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to look at plots on my website. This is my dashboard here. And here I have some trade plots. This is the US trade balance relative to other countries and relative to the implementation of tariffs. And so I have the European Union here in blue, I have China in pink, and then some other countries here. The trade balance is exports minus imports. These values below zero denote where imports are greater than exports. It seems that the trade balance is improving over time with the implementation of these tariffs. In any case, I wanted to see over time how the trade balance changes. So I made a plot, and I can easily update the plot with new data as it comes in whenever I run my Colab. So here's another plot. This is the trade balance with the US and China and the European Union. You can see the trade balance seems to be increasing here over time. And then the final plot here, this is inflation. And this is inflation relative to the presidential term and over time. There was recently some commotion about inflation during presidential administrations. So I wanted to plot inflation over time relative to the presidential administration. Then I have the average inflation under the name of the president. So what's great about this is these plots, they update over time. All you need is an API key. You need a GitHub account, and you need a GitHub personal access token. So I'm going to show you how to make this plot here of inflation and show how you can easily update this plot on your website whenever you run a program. This is the program in Colab, and you'll just hit this play button and you'll put in some information. Now, what information do you need? I made a guide here. You can follow this guide and create your own plots. Now you need three things. You need an API key from the data source. So you'll probably get your data from some government institution, for instance, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Well, first you need the API, Application Programming Interface, and it retrieves data for you from your data source. Lots of government organizations have API keys. Basically, you just register for one, give them your email address, your name, they'll send you an API key, which is basically like a password. Once you get the API key, you'll need to go to GitHub. You log in, you can log in with your Google account, you create a repository, which is basically like a file folder, and then from Colab, when we run the program, it's going to generate the plot and generate a plot in your GitHub repository. And then once you have the plot in your GitHub repository, GitHub Pages will create a URL for the plot and allow it to be shown like on a web page. And you can do that through GitHub Pages. And once you get that plot from GitHub Pages, you can host it on your website. For instance, I use Google Sites. And you can see all of my plots here, which will be updated regularly if you want to check out my website again in the future. This is my dashboard. So let's check this out. I'll show you how to do this. You can do this for yourself. So first you need an API key from a data source. So how do you acquire an API key? Look at where your data comes from. For instance, this inflation data, it comes from the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So I need an API key from BLS. So I'll ask ChatGPT, how can I register for an API key from BLS? And ChatGPT will give you a link here. So I'll click this link, we'll open it. And you just put in your name for organization name, your email address, and you fill out a CAPTCHA, and then you submit registration. And then BLS will send you your API key through email. It's going to look like a password, so you'll just copy it and paste it. So just copy it and paste it into an empty text file. This is what I like to do. And then keep the information on your computer in a secure location. Now the API key, when you run the Colab program, Colab is going to use the API key to visit the BLS server and get the data that you request. You don't have to manually download an Excel file. There's no data sheet or text file that you need to download and then upload into Colab. Colab does it automatically with the API key. So with that API key, I'll be able to get the data and make a plot. But we want to be able to share the plot on our website. So for that, we need to go to GitHub, and we're going to host the plot on GitHub. So we've completed number one. Number two, we need a GitHub token for a repository. So we're going to log into GitHub, create a new repository, and then get a personal access token. So what's GitHub? So GitHub is like a Google Drive for code. So in your Google Drive, you have files and folders. You can save really large files to your Google Drive, right? And then access them later. Well, GitHub, you can do the same thing with not quite as much storage space, but you can save code, check that your code is good. You can run code and do things like that. and GitHub will keep track of the changes you make to your code. You can collaborate with others too, but using GitHub there's a little bit more of a learning curve, and you can't save as large of files in GitHub without paying extra. So we'll go to GitHub, we'll go to sign in, and you can sign in with your Google account. Let's go ahead and do that, and here we go. So first we need to create a repository. This is your dashboard on GitHub. You can see my repositories. A repository, like I said, is just like a folder for your project. So these are different projects here. And within each project I have my code, my programs, my plots, things like that. But we're going to create a new one here. Hit the green button for new, and we're going to create a new repository and name it YT plot for YouTube plot. I don't have to give it a description, but I'm going to. We'll call it inflation plot for YouTube. I'm going to keep this public, and I'm going to click create repository. All right, and here's the repository. You can see my username here, Lens Eric at the top, and then YT plot after the /. That's for the repository. So we've logged into GitHub. We've created a new repository. Let's copy the URL for the new repository and save it. Well, you can see the URL for the repository. It's right here, github.com / my username, Lens Eric / the repository's name. So we'll go ahead and copy this and then paste it in the same file as our API key. So your text file will look something like this with the information, your API key for BLS. You'll have your GitHub repository here. What's important is the name of your repository. We'll need that for the Colab. Then now we need to generate a GitHub personal access token. So why do we need a personal access token? It's kind of like the API key, but it's for your GitHub repository. It's like a password, so anyone with the password can access your GitHub repository and get the files in there. Now we want Colab to access our GitHub repository and paste the plot in that GitHub repository. And then we want GitHub Pages to access the plot and view it, serve it up to visitors on our website through a URL. So let's generate that personal access token. So we go back to GitHub. I'm going to go to the top right-hand corner. I'm going to go to settings. I'll scroll down and go to developer settings. Then I'll go to personal access tokens and tokens classic, and then personal access tokens and tokens classic. Now you can see some personal access tokens here I've already generated. I'll show you how to generate a new one. You go to generate new token here. You generate new token classic. When you generate a new token, you have to label it. We're going to say this is for our YouTube plots. I'll call it token for YouTube plot of inflation. Then you choose expiration. How long will the token be good for? Remember, this is a token that allows people access to your repository, and your repository can have personal information in it. It's whatever you put in there. That's why GitHub puts expiration dates on these, because sometimes you could forget that a repository is public, or maybe someone gets access to your token, right? So we'll keep it for 30 days, but you can change it to 90 days or no expiration. Now you want to select repo for repository, so people with the GitHub token can access your repository. And then generate token. You'll see your token here in this green background space. Now I'm going to black this out for the video. You'll see two squares next to the token. Go ahead and click those two squares. Paste your token into that text file. Okay, I just made up this token, but this is what your text file should look like. All right, so we've created our repository. We have our GitHub token. Now we can set up GitHub Pages. So like I mentioned, GitHub Pages, it acts like a web server. That means it serves up whatever we want through HTML code. So we need some simple HTML code to display the plot like a website. So go ahead and copy this code right here, and then in our repository, YT plot, we're going to create this index.html file. So I go back to my GitHub repository. You can see it here on the left. It's YT plot. I'll click here, creating a new file. So we have a blank code space. Let's go ahead and hit Control V. Let's name this index.html. And note that index.html is in the main branch. So keep this in mind, we're in main. And then we hit commit changes here in green. Commit changes, and there is our file. Now let's set up a Google Pages link to our repository, because we're going to publish with GitHub Pages. So we'll go back to that repository. We'll go to settings and pages. So click here. YT plot. You can see we have the file index.html. Let's go to settings. Now note this is settings for the repository, not settings for GitHub. We'll scroll down to pages here on the left hand side. Deploy from a branch, that's what we want to do. And we're going to select the branch main. Note this is from the root folder. And we'll click save. And in a second we'll see the URL for our repository. It just takes about a minute. I'll go ahead and click refresh. And there it is. We have a website. And now if you click that link here, this is just the index.html file, right? It's being displayed in our browser. US inflation plot, loads the latest CPI inflation chart, and then inflation plot here. So we don't have the inflation plot PNG file yet. We haven't created the plot yet, but we're just setting up the background and everything so that we're good to go when we run the program. Paste that. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and run the program. Right, I'll enter my GitHub email. Nothing sensitive about that. And then my GitHub token. Right, you should have saved this earlier. You'll copy this from your text file and paste it into the Colab. And then enter your GitHub username. Your GitHub username will be here at the top. Mine's Lens Eric. If you go to the upper right hand corner, you'll see it there too. When you click, it's the top username. So I'll type that in, hit enter. And then the GitHub repo name, we know what that is. It'll be the last word here in our GitHub repository and the last part of our GitHub pages too, YT plot. And then we need our API key. It's the first one we got. It should be in your email and in this text file if you copied and pasted. And we'll copy and paste that here and hit enter. Let's get a glimpse into this plot, what's happening. Here's the plot itself. We've put in all of our information here. You can see when you put in your GitHub token, it'll be hidden along with your API key. So this Colab is public, but no one will be able to see. And where did the plot go? Well, the plot's saved here in Colab. It's inflation_plot.png, but it's also in our GitHub repository. Let's click this link. Now we see index.html along with inflation_plot.png. If we click this inflationplot.png, we'll see the plot here. That's exactly what we want, how it looks how it should. But what's the link that we use to embed on our website? We don't want to use this URL here from GitHub here at the top because that's a link through github.com to our repository and the PNG file in the repository. I put in some code here at the bottom, and your PNG plot can be accessed directly here through this link. And it says raw.githubusercontent.com. Let's go ahead and click that link. This is going to be the URL for the plot. So copy this URL and you'll embed this into your website. And I'll post that right here in my text file. It's a good idea to keep your API keys, your GitHub tokens in a text file. Keep them all together and saved in a secure location. We're going to use this URL again because now that we have this plot and it's hosted through GitHub Pages, we can post it on Google Sites. So let's go to our Google Sites page. Now if you created a Google Sites web page, and I recommend you do because it's super easy to edit. Here's my home page. I have a banner at the top. Content that I regularly post, like on YouTube, I'll post in here. It's just a scrolling timeline here. The plots I put on dashboard, and these are the plots that I'll update regularly. Now I'm not in the edit mode. If you go to the bottom of the page, in the lower right hand corner, you'll see a little pencil icon. Maybe I'll show it like this. So we click on our website. Yeah, you'll see a little pencil icon like this. It'll say edit this page. That's what you want to click. So go ahead and click that. I'll expand it. And this is the web page editor for Google Sites. Now in this view, what you'll want to do is click generally where you want to put this plot, kind of in the background space. So Google Sites uses these like blocks. And in each block, you can post plots, you can type in some text, you can embed links. So we have these 4 things here that you can insert: text boxes, images, embed, or drive. So I'll click here at the bottom, generally in this last block. Now click images. Now click select. Then I'll go to link and paste the URL of image. I'll hit Control V to paste that link from Colab. And this is what we want. I'll click Insert Image. Here we have our plot. We can expand it by clicking the lower right hand corner, dragging. Get it to where it looks pretty good. Then if you left click in the PNG file, You can move it so it looks better, and then you click the upper right hand corner here to publish. When you click publish, on the left hand side here you'll see a draft version of your website, how it looks after you've made the change. So I have 2 plots here at the bottom. And then the currently published version, which is before the change, before you pasted your plot. You'll just see 1 plot here at the bottom. But if you're happy with the draft version, you can click publish and that will become your new website. I'm just gonna go back here. I don't wanna save this because I don't need 2 plots here. I'll just left click and remove here. That's it. Now whenever you run this program in Colab, it's going to generate this plot with the most recent data from BLS. And it's going to save the plot in your GitHub repository. And then from your GitHub repository, it will be linked with GitHub Pages to your website. And your website will show that URL, which is now the updated plot. So now you can host these plots, these PNG files, and easily update them through Colab. And that's it. You don't have to use Colab with this. You can create and update plots through your program editor. Say you use brackets, whatever's your normal program editor, you can use that as well. You don't have to use Colab. I use Colab to share with you guys, allow you to try this out for yourself. But if you use your own program editor, you don't have to use getPass. You don't have to keep your keys hidden. You can simply run the program from your home computer, and you don't need to keep copying and pasting your keys, right? Now in this video, I've just shown you manual updates to the plots, but you could set this up to automatically update the plots. So you don't have to update these plots whenever you run the program. You can set your program to run automatically, and you can do that through GitHub. There's a little more coding involved with that, a little more trial and error. Maybe I'll do a video on that in the future, but for now, manually updating plots this way is still more efficient than downloading Excel files, running your program again, and then embedding a new plot to your website every time you want to update your plot, which is what you would have to do without an API key and this code. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, go ahead and like the video, comment below. Tell me what else you'd like to see in the future. Do you like these sentiment analysis videos? Would you rather I do more with data analysis of data like this and updating plots? Let me know in a comment below, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.